leadership, right? I would like to build leaders that are much different than you can ever see. Leaders that are built by God's own heart. A leader who God trusts. How do you get there? What are the things you need to know? What are the essential ingredients that you, or essential elements that you need to be that? Everybody is leader in one or the other way. And we can be leaders of our own in different various ways. And we can get leadership not because we are ordained by God. Because you take charge, you're a leader. But there is an ordained leader who is doing what he says. Those leaders are in book of Leviticus and Numbers. God appoints leader. When you read in book of Leviticus, God distinguishes the leader very separately. They are not just a leader, they are God's appointed leaders for doing what God wants to do among men. Not just a leader who can do so many activities. We need that. On a sidebar, or like to say, there are gifts in the New Testament church of given to the church, that is pastor, right? Pastoring. Pastor means a shepherd. In shepherding, it is such a simple thing that you are very tender, you're very kind, you're compassionate, you're tend my flock. That's the word he used, tend my flock, take care of my lamb. That means it's a very caring ministry. Every ministry has its own differences. It's a very caring and tending ministry, pastoral ministry. That is why in book of Peter it says, First Peter it says, when the great shepherd is revealed, you will have a special crown. Shepherding gets a special crown, not like any others. Shepherds are different. So in leadership, God cuts out this in a very different manner than the rest of the world makes leader. Got to distinguish them and identify them and make sure you don't reveal yourself in another form, because our natural nature wants the other leadership. Because our nature gets puffed up. You feel a little bit prideful. You feel exalted. You feel controlling. Control has power. And then you have the use of power, and you have the power to choose. You're not told, you're choosing. But people who are told, they think they don't have control. People who think they tell have control. Both don't have anything. People who tell have higher accountability. People who are told have a greater accountability to submit. Both struggle anyway, but both don't understand. When a person tells you to do, he also have an accountability that if he tells something else, he bears an untrustworthy account against him. That means his hearing ability from the Lord goes lesser. He goes distinct. He goes, because you say what is not told. You do what is not said. That's what happened to Saul. What did Saul do? He did what was not told. God warns Samuel out of his self-instinct. Now the best prophet, Samuel, out of his best instinct, he came to anoint, because God told him, go anoint one of Jesse's sons. So he is on the way, and he said, no, I'm not going there. If I go there, people are going to look at it, and then, then God gives him instruction how to go, and he goes according to the instruction. Now very carefully following the instruction. That means this man knows it. And he goes to the house. See where you missed the track, how you missed the track and how lightly you could take it, and all of a sudden your flesh or yourself comes into play. A great prophet, and he goes into Jesse's house and he says, I'm here to anoint one of your sons who is going to be the king. And then Eliab comes, the older son comes, and he is very handsome and tall and strong, and he is in the Saul's army, big guy. And immediately Samuel feels, that's it, got it. God told me to anoint somebody, right? And he's not expecting anything. He's not even having a second thought. That's the right thing. So always the firstborn is blessed. So there he is, not even thinking for a second minute. And he's about to anoint. And immediately the word is like, not stop it. Don't do it. It's like, do not look at the outside of the person. I didn't tell you. You're about to anoint him. I didn't tell you. And he's like, oh, that means he was about to do something wrong. Am I correct? That is the place where leaders stand. You have a responsibility of doing what is right. Now, there are people who don't hear that voice. They already are in the action of doing, because they have not been said, they have not heard, and they have practiced, and they have practiced doing it continuously, and they are not hearing, but they're just doing. That habit makes you a prophet or a servant who is doing what is religious, some activities, and you're not led. That's why the leading is very important. Am I making sense? Now, when it comes to Moses from his birth, he knew he was chosen, right? Chose him out of the water. Moses, that's his name. Selected, separated, taken out of the water. That means he was, from his birth, it was ordained. It's in the book of Hebrews, it says, he was a special child. From the birth, he was a special child, chose to be a leader. A leadership that is born from the heart of God. And now, this mission is a great mission, and he's preparing him for a mission from his birth. It didn't happen in random one day. It is from his birth he's being crafted. And in the process of preparation, he is put into the palace. He has to be in the palace. He needs to know the royal ways. I study the Bible, and when I study the Bible, I say God chooses Daniel to be in the kingly places because his prophetic ministry is in the palace. Now, Daniel and Ezekiel comes at the same time. If you take the historic timeline, both Daniel and Ezekiel were in Babylon at the time of exile. They lived at the same time. So when Daniel was in the palace, Ezekiel is in Babylon, but on the other side. He's not in the palace. Now, when Daniel is tested in the palace, Ezekiel is on the other side. Now, Ezekiel comes from a prophetic family, whereas Daniel comes from a royal family. If you take the Daniel's history, he comes from a royal lineage. So he was placed into a prophetic position in the king's palace, whereas Ezekiel is placed as a prophet with a total different dimension of his ministry. Because Daniel is in the palace doesn't make him greater. But when I read the book of Ezekiel, I'm so fascinated of what Ezekiel is seeing. The glory, the highest things, the highest thing and things that to come. And he's seeing God himself with the whole glory and everything that the Apostle John saw in Patmos, he is seeing it. So it is not the palace that makes you feel great, or the little small pocket spot where Ezekiel is sitting doesn't make you lesser either. It is the glory of God and the purpose that makes you greater. If you feel that ministry is greater and that pastor is bigger and this ministry is bigger, you're looking from a human eye. When Daniel does what God wants him to do in the palace, he is at the right place and he is doing the right thing. If Ezekiel is doing the right thing in the right place, he is doing the exact thing that you are supposed to do. and he is glorified. Nobody makes any difference because in the kingdom, that's it. Coming to that place again, as leaders, we need to know we are not doing what we want to do and what we like to do and what we are only doing what God is preparing us. And how are we prepared? It is our desire that I need to be this way. I have to walk in surrender. I have to have some exercises that I need to practice. I need to be in a place that I need to be with Him that He can make me. Otherwise, He can't. What is that? That's what I want to deal with today. Because somebody said you'll be a pastor, you'll not become. You went to a Bible school, you'll not be a pastor. Because somebody said prophetic ministry is so great and all of a sudden you got some education and you know some prophecies from some people and you start prophesying and you start doing it and you may have little glimpse of here and there and you may feel some goosebumps here and there once in a while. But if you're not hearing me clear, you're not doing it. There's something more than that. That is the place we need to go. Where do you find it? How do you find it? When you look at the Old Testament, God expects His servants to sit before Him. I'm going to use 3 or 4 examples today. David became a man of God's heart, a king and a leader of God's heart. Not just because he was anointed, it was because he had a secret, deep relationship. Today, do you have that secret, deep, intimate, close relationship? How does a relationship become deeper? As a conversation becomes longer, the relationship becomes deeper. Take a minute, Selah. When you read Psalm, you read the word called Selah. That means wait, sit, meditate. Sit down, think for a minute. How's your relationship? How's your relationship? You want to be somebody with God? Your business is with Him. You need to learn to talk to Him. He needs to talk to you. It has to come to a very deepest place that when you come to His presence, He immediately takes you. My son is here right now. This is my time with Him. And He takes you and He takes you around. And He said, Dias, I want to show you something. I want to talk to you today. And He takes me around. And He takes me around and He says, Dias, this is what I want you to know. Dias, I'm going to press you right now. Dias, this is what you need to watch. Dias, I'm going to test you. I want you to really give me your commitment. I want you to stand with me. I know it's going to be hard for you, but I'm with you. You can call me. When you find helpless, look at me. Ask me. I'm there with you, but I want you to overcome. What does this process do to you? What does this process do? This process gives you that tremendous heavenly wisdom. Without this heavenly wisdom, you cannot rule. As I had this dream and this vision last 2 months, the words always came to my mind. You will rule the world. We will be ruling the world, right? Where does it say? It says in Corinthians, do not, like the worldly people, go to, come on, nobody knows about it, to the courts, but let there be settlement, justice, that you bring matters to settlement inside the body. Because world and God is separated. God doesn't want godly people to go into the worldly hands to bring any justice. This is not an easy thing to share and talk. Settle it within yourself, because you and them shouldn't be doing it. Settle it inside. Then he says, a day will come, you will rule the world. It's not a small wisdom. People of this world are wise, smart, wicked, sharp, shrewd, clever. We have to be not wicked, but we have to be wise. Right? At the same time, we cannot be worldly. How does that happen? If my people are in this intimate place with God, that wisdom that comes from God, it has to originate from Him, through Him, and His character has to come out of this. We are in a very, very, very challenging times of history. In every area you see it. In every field you see it. And we're living through it now. Let me tell you, there will be a desperate cry everywhere. Every homes, every house, every city, every nation, every nation, there will be a cry. There will be an outcry. Oh, God help. When you read in the book of Exodus, people of Israel went into oppression. They went into oppression, deep slavery. When I exposed that slavery, when these people went to Egypt, they didn't go into slavery, they went into prosperity. That's the historic start, because Egypt was the greatest land, greatest nation on the whole planet during the time. So, when Joseph was placed in the highest position in Egypt, God lifted him up for a time. He placed him at the highest position. So his family immigrated. They migrated to Egypt. 70 families migrated. And when they migrated, Joseph was very concerned that his people would not mix with the rest of the people because they are separated people. So he made it very clear and he told them, we tell the king. Now follow the specifics very clearly. I do not want you to adulterate, mix and conform to Egypt. Egypt in the New Testament represents world. It is a representation. So I do not want you to conform to the pattern of Egypt, pattern of this world. Romans chapter 12 verse 2. Do not be conformed to the patterns of this world, but be transformed and renewed of your mind so that you may know the perfect will of God. That is Romans chapter 12 verse 2. Now, here is Joseph telling them, tell the king, we are shepherds, right? We are farmers and shepherds. Now, Egyptians don't like shepherds. They are like the low people and they don't like to mix with them. And tell them, Goshen is a place where it is a lot of greenery and there is not any Egyptians there. They don't like that place because it's a lot of farming land and they don't like it. They are all city people. They are like all tech phone gadget people. So they like all these Ramses and the beautiful city and the mall and the Walmarts and Target style people. It's the world. And this is like you're going to some Amish country like Pennsylvania. I'm just giving you the context. So Joseph very clearly said, tell the king, very clearly that we are not savvy, the tech savvy people. We are just farmers and we are just shepherds. Oh, then the king will be like, oh, give us this Goshen. Nobody wants it anyway, so just give us Goshen. And it made it very clear, and they said yes, and they went, so, oh, we are farmers from a long time, and we have animals and livestock. And he said, we'll take Goshen. And why did he do that? Because that is like a picnic place for Egyptians to come and say, oh, there's a little lamb. Ooh, nice picture, good, wonderful. They'll only come for that. They're not going to mess with you. They are not going to intermingle with you. They're not going to become too friendly with you because of that's competing. That's how they go into this country. But they knew how to separate themselves. They separated from the rest of the world. And then they lived separated, but they multiplied. They multiplied and they became very, very prosperous. Now God blesses you, God multiplies you, God prospers you. As prosperity and multiplication and all blessings starts flowing in, slowly but surely, one of them said, let's have some internet come into my house. And then we get a little internet and then little things that comes from the world, right? Then all this media starts coming. Then a little super Walmart comes in here. And then there's a nice highway that comes into this place. And then you slowly your buggies becomes a little car. And then you start going into their city. And then they go into their restaurant. And then they like their new taste and their new food and their new mall and their new stuff. And slowly but surely, there's nothing wrong in buying their stuff and going to the mall, but slowly but surely you adopted their culture, adopted their language. It's not the language that is the problem. The language is not the problem. The special lingos and the words that came in with that language became the problem. Right? Today, it is not that you can, rap song is not a sin to sing a rap song, but that the other things that comes along with it, or the extra syllables and extra words that you hear and every movies that you watch that shoots out all these curse words, and you are intermingled and your culture, your brain is fiber different. And it's a new generation. Now the little child watches this, it doesn't even bother. The older person that watches it, they're in shock. It says in book of Exodus, they had a different language. So mixed up, so messed up, that they were a different people. It says they never inherited the promised land. Who did not? This mixed generation did not inherit the promised land. The mixed generation. So, through this process, Joseph knew, and after many years, I would say it is around 300 some years, they became so corrupted. America is not 300 years old, by the way. How many years is America? 200, 260, 250, around there, right? 47? 1776. Okay. So, America is only a small country. Now, this people of Israel being in Egypt is more than Americans. All history of America. If America became so great in 240 some years, this family of Joseph came to Goshen and they stayed there. Now it is 420 years. Between the 400 years and the 300 years, they are so well off. Influential all over Egypt. Very influential. You go to Ramses, it's all Joseph's family. You go to any place in Egypt, all the big hotels and motels and all the gas stations and all the, you name it. What else do you have? The malls and everything is owned by? Anything that you can see, even the casinos are being owned by?
Kind of like that.
Yeah, Joseph's children. They became influential. They controlled everything. Now what's happening? 300 plus years now, these people of Egypt are like, man, who are these people? They're taking us over. This land belongs to us, but everything belongs to them. They're powerful. And then the cabinet people, and there's like whole what do you call council happening inside the Egyptian kingly in the king's court. And in the discussion, they said, "We got a problem.